China's behavior toward its neighbors fits the classic definition of a bully, something I've been saying all evening now. Every time a neighbor accommodates, China pushes further. So how does one deal with a compulsive bully? There are two ways. You either submit and become an abettor, like Nepal and Pakistan have, or you stand up and resist, like India. Why am I telling you this? Because India's determined actions have emboldened another nation to take a stand, one of China's closest allies in Southeast Asia, now accusing China of backing terrorism. The country I'm talking about is Myanmar. First, Myanmar said no to Chinese loans. This was last month. Now, reports say Myanmar is blaming China for arming insurgent groups in their country. The commander-in-chief of the Myanmar Armed Forces, Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, gave an interview recently. It was aired on a Russian state-run TV channel. Allow me to quote an excerpt. A country may be able to suppress terrorist organizations on its soil, but in cases where there are strong forces behind that terrorist organization, the country alone may not be able to handle it. He did not name any names, but the mention of quote-unquote strong forces is widely believed to be a reference to China. Why is that? Let me elaborate. By terrorist organizations, the Myanmar army chief was referring primarily to the Arakan army, the largest Buddhist insurgent group in Myanmar. Of late, this group has been active along Myanmar's border with China. Arakan insurgents have been caught with Chinese weapons time and again. So have members of several other ethnic militias. Let me tell you about one such incident from November 2019. The Myanmar army busted a huge cache of weapons from an insurgent group. Most of the weapons seized were Chinese. The headlines are on your screen. The Myanmar army raised this issue with China. Beijing vehemently denied arming these rebel groups. The issue was soon brushed under the carpet, but suspicions about China's intentions only grew in Myanmar. Over the months, these suspicions have taken many forms. Reports say the Myanmar army has now sensed a pattern of how these insurgent groups operate. The Arakan army, for example, it hinders every development project by India along the Myanmar-Mizoram border. It has a history of taking Indian construction workers hostage. But when it comes to China, this very same insurgent group lays down its arms. The Arakan army does not disrupt any Chinese development projects along Myanmar's borders. What explains their actions? Chinese money. The word is that China is using its influence on this insurgent group to ensure a smooth implementation of Belt and Road projects. Beijing is desperate to push the China-Myanmar Economic Corridor, a project that will give China a strategic opening into the Bay of Bengal, an upper hand in the Indian Ocean region. To ensure its completion, China is using ethnic militia to keep other countries away from Myanmar, countries like India, and to threaten the Myanmar government. China is supplying funds and sophisticated weapons to insurgents in Myanmar. One report says that 95% of the total funding of the Arakan army comes from China. The writing is on the wall. China wants Myanmar to become another vassal state. And if diplomacy and debt traps fail, terror will be China's tool to achieve its motives.